evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. Euro elites hate Trump, part 498. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Well, it's that time of year again, the annual globalist confab of world leaders, billionaires, energy and tech titans, a few media types, all at the World Economic Forum, where the rich and powerful gather to remind each other of how rich and powerful they are. All the while, of course, pretending to care about saving the planet, or at least Greenland.
On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future.
I love the applause. Oh, come on. What they really care about most, at least right now, is trying to resist Donald Trump. So all the Euro pipsqueaks came out today to get their digs in, puffing up their chests as the EU itself is at a crossroads.
People want to join the European Union. Yes. Nobody wants to join China. Nobody, no neighbor of the United States says, well, we want to join the United States. Nobody wants to. They want to join the European Union just because we have respect. We have the rule of law. We do speak softly.
That's funny. The European rule of law, is that what he said? Which is increasingly punishing people for their speech, for what they post online. Even the notoriously Never Trump publication, The Atlantic, has tagged Europe for its undeniable and repeated attacks on free speech. And rightly, President Trump and VP Vance have called them out for both this and their NATO free riding. The Davos crowd, well, most of them anyway, hate Trump because he's not one of them. He's not a citizen of the world. He's America first, and he's a populist, a pragmatist. European leaders, though, come on, they love a weak America. They love it when our country was just writing blank checks and demanding nothing in return. They love our country when our leaders go over there and prostrate themselves at the altar of globalism, even apologize for America's arrogance in past years. But that's not how Team Trump rolls.
America first is the job of our government to take care of our workers, to make sure their lives are better for it. And then don't be America alone, right? But be America first. And I would suggest that policy is something for other countries to deeply consider, to take care of their own, and then we will work out wonderful relationships between us. But I want to point out, when America shines, the world shines. Close your eyes and think of a world without America in it.
That was an excellent presentation, but one problem. On the issue of Greenland, our allies, well, they don't seem to be backing down. At least they want their moment of being so upset. Greenland sovereignty is non-negotiable, said Ursula von der Leyen, president of the European Commission, said that today. And after Trump threatened to blow up his tariff deal with Europe, which sent stocks reeling today, the president said he had a very good call with the NATO chief, Mark Rutte. Secretary Bessent, for his part, told everyone, sit back, take a breath.
I would say exactly what I said after Liberation Day last April, when the president imposed tariff levels on the whole world. I tell everyone, sit back, take a deep breath, do not retaliate. The president will be here tomorrow, and he will get his message across. I believe he is going to have meetings and again, also have an open mind.
You know, Trump's going to wow Davos. That's my prediction. I mean, he's going to go there and everyone's going to want to talk to him. So all of this is a bunch of posturing. But if Europe really thinks that it can save itself by joining with that nincompoop Carney of Canada, I have to ask, are they really our allies in the first place? And if they're such great allies, why couldn't they save Ukraine without us? Or at least trying to. Now, Donald Trump obviously believes it's a strategic necessity for the United States to take Greenland. And if Europe's response to that, after everything we've done to protect Europe for 70, 80 years, that they prefer to stake their entire future on working with a communist dictatorship over working with the United States because of Greenland, then they truly are suicidal, and we really can't help them. And we should just try to cut deals with the few sane countries that are left in Europe at this point. Of course, a man pretending to be president of the EU was over there today strutting his stuff. And his complaint is that Europe is not doing enough to fight Trump.
I should have brought a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. I mean, at least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing. So this is diplomacy with Donald Trump. He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you.
You mate with him or he devours you. It's actually a pretty good line. But it's embarrassing. He's not trying to play president. He's trying to play president of the EU, okay? United States, never going to happen. But of course, that's music to the ears of George Soros' pride and joy. Son Alex tweeted, "Great catching up with the real star of the 2026 World Economic Forum, my friend Gavin Newsom. So glad he's here calling out world leaders for believing appeasement works when it comes to Trump. It doesn't." All I can say is the two of them will appease China on every issue, never call out China, but they'll call out Trump. And if that duo is against Trump, oh my goodness, you know Trump is doing the right thing. So in the end, I bet Europe comes to its senses. America will come to some Greenland settlement. NATO at the end may even be stronger for it. China and Russia will be sweating as they see America being a bit more muscular on the world stage. And they'll be wishing, of course, that Kamala were on the other side of the table this week. Thank goodness she's not. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.